GCSE Physics, Hydroelectricity, Waves and Tides. Hydroelectric power uses falling water. Hydroelectric power usually requires the flooding of a valley by building a big dam. Water is allowed out through turbines. There is no pollution as such, but there is a big impact on the environment due to the flooding of the valley. Rooting vegetation releases methane and CO2, and possible loss of habitat for some species. Sometimes the loss of whole villages. The reservoirs can also look very unsightly when they dry up. Putting hydroelectric power stations in remote valleys tends to reduce their impact on humans. Hydroelectric power uses falling water. A big advantage is it can provide an immediate response to an increased demand for electricity. There is no problem with reliability in terms of drought. But remember, this is Great Britain we are talking about. Initial costs are high, but there are no fuel costs and minimal running costs. It can be a useful way to generate electricity on a small scale in remote areas. Wave power. Lots of little wave power turbines. You need lots of small wave power turbines located around the coast. Like with wind power, the moving turbines are connected to a generator. There is no pollution. The main problem are disturbing the seabed and the habitats of marine animals, spoiling the view and being a hazard to boats. They are fairly unreliable, since waves tend to die out when the wind drops. Initial costs are high, but there are no fuel costs and minimal running costs. Wave power is never likely to provide energy on a large scale, but it can be very useful on small islands. Tidal barrages using the sun and moon's gravity. Tides are used in lots of ways to generate electricity. The most common method is building a tidal barrage. Tidal barrages are big dams built across river estuaries with turbines in them. As the tide comes in, it fills up the estuary. The water is then allowed out through turbines at a controlled speed. Tides are produced by the gravitational pull of the sun and moon. There is no pollution. The main problems are preventing free access by boats, spoiling the view, and altering the habitat of the wildlife. For example, wading birds, sea creatures, and beasties who live in the sand. Tidal barrages using the sun and moon's gravity. Tides are pretty reliable in the sense that they happen twice a day without fail and always near to the predicted height. The only drawback is that the height of the tide is variable, so lower neap tides will provide significantly less energy than the bigger spring tides. They also don't work when the water level is the same either side of the barrage. This happens 4 times a day because of the tides. Initial costs are moderately high, but there are no fuel costs and minimal running costs. Even though it can only be used in some of the most suitable estuaries, tidal power has the potential for generating a significant amount of energy.